part at the sinotubular junction and the aortic annulus is known as aortic root. Okay, it consists of sinuses, junction and the aortic annulus. So first we need to understand what is ascending aorta. So aneurysm is basically defined as any cross-sectional diameter exceeds 1.5 to 2 times of the routine diameter. So in ascending aorta, the normal diameter is around 2 to 2.5. If it is more than 4.5, in United States it is called aneurysm. Less than that, it is known as ascending aortic dilatation. In South Korea, the incidence is more, and they give, and their body surface area is also very short and thin people, so they keep around 4 cm. So a diameter of 3.5 is generally considered dilated. However, average value may vary with age, size of the reference population, as well as the different segment of the aorta. So you have to not only measure the ascending aorta size, but at the diaphragm level, descending aortic size also, and you have to, there are complex calculations. Based on that, you can say it is aneurysm. So there are basically total 5 types of aneurysm. One is fusiform, which normally we see. Then the pseudoaneurysm. Pseudoaneurysm, there will be either rupture or tear in the arterial wall and the blood ooze out, which consists of only a thin layer, whereas in fusiform, all 3 layers, adventitium, media and intima, all 3 layers are there around. In saccular also, all 3 layers will be there, but there is only outspouting like hernia in the artery. In dissection, between the intima and the media or medial wall, there will be perpendicular dissection, and the aneurysm can rupture, and it is called rupture aortic aneurysm. So basically, actually, if you see, there are fusiform and saccular and normal routine aneurysm, whereas the dissecting and rupture and pseudoaneurysm are usually related to complex variety. So why it is important? If it is undiagnosed or untreated, patient can have an aortic valve insufficiency and left ventricular failure, aortic rupture, dissection, and compression on adjacent vital structure, and which will lead to many cardiac symptoms. Because of the recent advance in cardiopulmonary bypass circuits, temperatures, management during the procedure, lot of filters, and prosthetic new valves are now there, the synthetic grafts are now available, and because of this surgical management of this disorder is now successfully done in any center. Aortic aneurysm may be lethal due to their liability to dissect and rupture. Approximately 50% of a patient with acute untreated ascending aortic dissection die within 48 hours. And those undergoing emergency surgery, the mortality rate is very high, tuned to between 15 to 30%. The elective surgery has a lower mortality, only 3 to 5%. And understanding the pathophysiology of ascending aortic aneurysm can help to reduce the mortality and morbidity from aortic dissection or rupture. If you see the normal ascending aortic function as it basically function as an elastic reservoir to enhance the arterial flow. It stores energy during the systole and dissipates it during the diastole. The medial layer of the aorta consists of elastin, collagen, smooth muscle, and ensure the elasticity and tensile strength of the aorta. The ascending part of the aorta is more elastic than the descending part due to greater concentration of elastic fibers. In etiology, it is ranked 10th leading cause of mortality in the United States, and 15. It is listed in 20, first top 20, and 15 leading cause of death in people over 60 65-year-old. And if you see the incidence which was there in 1980, around 5.9 cases per year per thousand, per 1 lakh people, because of the imaging modality, aging of the population and increase in transthoracic echocardiography and routine screening, now the incidence is almost twofold. And incidence of especially ascending aortic aneurysm is around 10 patients per 1 lakh population per year. Women and men have similar incidence, and but the age at diagnosis in a decade higher in women, 70 years, and then the man 60 years. So man will have in a 60th decades, whereas 6 decades, and the woman will have in 70 decades.
Is the incidence different in that part of the world and our?
Yes, in USA, say incidence we cannot compare with other countries because other country don't have any data. Few of the Japanese and the Korean area, they have good data, and US and Canada, they have good data. But in Asian continent, we don't have any data. Nobody writes papers. That's a problem. Nature is the normally aorta grows slowly with the age. There is one study which was ECOSUB study. The aortic diameter increases 0.1 centimeter per 10 years at the aortic root after age of 25 years. Same thing can happen in the tubular portion of the ascending aorta. Same observation they have found. By the age of 75, the normal ascending aortic diameter is approximately 3.6 to 3.7 centimeter for a woman and 4.1 to 4.2 centimeter for a man. This diameter cannot be applied to the Asian country because we have shorter height and BSA compared to the Western countries. Now, risk factors mainly hypertension, smoking, waist circumference, and the ascending aortic diameter significantly correlate with the age. There was one study in that they mentioned the mean carotid intimal media thickness as well as apical and adipose tissue were associated with ascending aortic dilatation. But nobody does in India. This is only for Marfan's family. If you want to see how it is dilated around this thing. But now better imagings are available. We can directly straight away go for a CT scan or MRI. So risk factor is age, sex, body height, smoking history, hypertension, and severe atherosclerosis. And age being the most important predictor for dilation. The causes, there are congenital causes like bicuspid aortic valve and radiology of fellow. Because of the rotation at the aortic root level, then the preferential flow from both the ventricle into the aorta, and because of that in tetralogy there is a dilatation. Whenever there is a overriding of aorta is more than 30%, you will see little bit dilatation of ascending aorta. Bicuspid aortic valve, yes, post-stenotic dilatation, and even monocuspid aortic valve also there is a this is one of the cause of ascending aortic aneurysm. Then there are certain hereditary connective tissue disorders and the familial aortic syndrome. This comes into aortopathy. Then the acquired one is hypertension, infection like syphilis. Nowadays it is not so, I have not seen even a single case of syphilis. Bacterial infection, viral, fungal, and autoimmune like Takayasu and idiopathic arthritis, that is giant cell. Post-traumatic like chronic aortic dissection, AV fistula, post-stenotic or even after surgery, cannulation site or surgical suture site, there is a pseudoaneurysm formation. So in degenerative cases, in elastic media, one of the causes is elastic media degeneration. So ascending aortic aneurysm is an enlargement of a weakened area in the ascending aorta, where other aneurysm of the aorta are associated with atherosclerosis. Aneurysm of ascending aorta are mostly associated with degenerative changes in elastic media, Degenerative process in ascending aorta start with the cystic medial degeneration, affect the medial layer of the various degree of elastic fiber fragmentation and smooth muscle loss. Although the fragmentation of the elastic fiber is a normal process of aging, it may occasionally accelerate and cause partial or complete loss of elastic fiber and smooth muscle cell in the medial layer of the aorta. The aortic wall then loses its strength and the elasticity and become aneurysm. Then comes the another cause, annular aortic ectasia and genetic connective tissue disorder. Now, what is aortic annular ectasia? This is basically it affects the root, where there is the ascending aortic dilatation and aneurysm, dilatation of the sinus of Valsalva, and dilatation of the aortic annulus. And along with that, from the aortic annulus to the coronary ostia, this height, which also increases in size. So these three should be there when you label as a annular aortic ectasia, and it is a common feature in Marfan or any genetic disorder affecting ascending aorta. It is also this condition is associated or occur as a part of generalized connective tissue disorder in Marfan or other leaks like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or any other connective tissue disorder like giant cells, arthritis and Takayasu's and other. Then the atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is less commonly affect the ascending aorta compared to other parts of the body. We see a lot of atherosclerosis in ascending aorta, but normally in the Western world, ascending aorta they have less calcification compared to the arch and the descending aorta. This process is in aortic media called extensive disruption of elastic fiber, smooth muscle cell, which may be replaced by extracellular matrix and lipid. Various invasive atheroma develop, and this progressive destruction weakens the aortic wall. And that is the theory behind the atherosclerosis part. Then certain valve malformations, like I said, bicuspid and unicuspid aortic valve, and they have a predisposition for aneurysm formation, and it is maybe related to same developmental anomaly manifesting as an anomalous valve similar to cystic medial degeneration occurring in ascending aorta. In this aneurysmal dilatation, the primarily structural abnormality of the aortic wall is also caused by the secondary process of post-stenotic aortic dilatation. Whereas the ascending aortic aneurysm caused by infection is referred as a mycotic aneurysm. So, in this aneurysm are rare and most commonly seen in episode of valvular endocarditis. The infection of the aortic jet lesion or infection of the intraluminal clot is in an atherosclerotic aneurysm may give rise to mycotic aneurysm. Syphilis was most common cause of mycotic aneurysm of ascending aorta in the past, but rarely seen nowadays. Syphilitic infection initiate the aortitis and obliterative endarteritis, followed by destruction of the vasa vasorum and degeneration of the medial elastic fiber. Successful anti-syphilitic therapy usually does not prevent the formation of aortic aneurysm, as there is no reversal of post-syphilitic vascular lesions. So even after anti-syphilitic treatment, there is a chance that patient can have then the arthritis, trauma and pseudoaneurysm. The systemic arthritis such as Takayasu, Kawasaki, Butcher's disease and giant cell arthritis may involve ascending aorta and initiate the formation of aneurysm. An aseptic inflammatory in this, there is an aseptic inflammatory process in the medial layer of the aorta, presumed to induce the medial destruction, which lead to weakening of aortic wall and potential aneurysm formation. Then in trauma, chronic traumatic aneurysm in the ascending aorta phase trauma most commonly involve the descending rather than the ascending aorta. Patients with acute ascending aortic injury have very low survival rate due to development of cardiac tamponade and other associated cardiac injury. Pseudoaneurysm do not contain all layer of the aortic wall. In the ascending aorta, they may develop after trauma, surgical intervention or infection. Post-operative pseudoaneurysm may develop at the site of cannulation or any suture lines. Now, if you see the aortic amyloology, which is quite interesting, even I came to know yesterday only. The specific location of dilatation which occurs first in the aortic root is thought to be secondary to high pressure generated by the left ventricle, but has been recently felt to be also consequence of a different amyloological origin of vascular smooth muscle in aortic root. In the early embryogenesis, the vascular smooth muscle derived from the number of areas, and these appear to be consistent with the aortic root deriving from the lateral plate mesoderm, whereas ascending aorta and arch from the neural crest origin and the descending aorta from the paraxial mesoderm. So if you see, this comes from the lateral mesoderm and this arch and part of the tubular portion is from the neural crest and this is from paraxial mesoderm. So this is the common site of dissection, rupture of intimal tear. So this I came to know yesterday only when I was reading a lot of articles.
Which is the common site?
Common site is this one for ascending aorta and arch, and this one for Stanford type 2. Usually these two sites we normally see. It can be anywhere, but this commonest site. Usually these type of patients are asymptomatic for most of the time, and they incidentally we find during the routine examinations such as echocardiography or CT scan or MRI or chest X-ray. When they present an acute presentation, either with the thoracic aortic dissection or sometimes atypical chest pain, or as a part of screening, cascade screening of relative of individual presenting with aortic disease like aortic valve, sometimes we see we do a CT scan, we find in almost 10% of the patients we find ascending aortic dilation or embolism. As a part of recognized congenital cardiac condition like bicuspid aortic valve, coarctation, tetralogy, you have to see ascending aorta. So age of complication for aneurysm. If you have a hypertension, the chances of having a complication with the thoracic aneurysm at a mean age presentation is 64.2. Whereas in Marfan, it is very interesting. Mean age of presentation is 24, and at a time of prophylactic surgery, it is 34.4. Whereas at the time of aortic dissection, it is just 39 to 48. Bicuspid aortic valve, 49H. Familiar or non-syndromic ascending aortic aneurysm, the presentation is 56.8. Then Lloyd-Dietz syndrome, it's very rare, but they present very early, and the rupture in type 4 is very, very high, 19.8. And this we don't have any data. Now, diameter of ascending aorta and the timing of complication. So, if you see in hypertension, around 6 cm diameter, Marfan 5.1, 5.6 in different series, and 5 to 6. Bicuspid aortic valve 5.2. Then other syndrome 4 to in this particular syndrome 4 to 5 is if patient is already diagnosed, then we should replace before they reach 4. So this is very interesting medical management. Actually everybody knows, but there are one fact I wanted to throw some light. The systemic hypertension can play a role in a formation of aortic aneurysm or as a contributing factor in a patient with congenital cardiac defect or inherited condition. Aggressive medical management is important and number of drugs classes can be used as a monotherapy or combination. Young patients with inherited aortic disease are very rarely hypertensive, but medication that reduce the hemodynamic stress on aortic wall such as beta blocker or angiotensin receptor blocker have been tested in Marfan syndrome and which is used for all other aneurysms, not only Marfan, all other aneurysms. All the literatures we have for Marfan, but we use for other aneurysm also. Though the literature is limited to a small study and some controversial result, there is evidence of medicine are beneficial and reduce the rate of aortic growth, and the beta blocker is currently recommended and generally initiated as at a diagnosis and or upon documentation of significant or progressive aortic dilation. Besides the hemodynamic stress to the arterial wall, which is an obvious target for the treatment, the interest in the past decade has moved to possible modification of the deregulation of the TGFB pathway by ARBs, and it is proven effective in mice model. And result of AIM study are at least partially supporting finding in humans also. So now they recommend that ARB should be started. There is evidence in the trial this should be titrated to the highest tolerated dose and to hemodynamically effect on exercise. No evidence is available in many other rare conditions including scare data in aortic, bicuspid aortic valve aortopathy or medical management of largely extrapolated to the Marfan data. Moderate aerobic exercise is safe and should be encouraged in all patients, but certain activities are not, isometric exercises are not recommended. Patients with dilated aorta do not compete in impact sports or activities. When sudden deceleration is a risk, they should not lift where straining is required as this can induce a Valsalva maneuver associated with a rapid transient increase in the systemic blood pressure. Extreme sports should be avoided, including extreme endurance sports. All recreational drugs should be avoided and smoking is discouraged. Having adequate travel insurance for all ascending aortic aneurysm patient or dilated aorta patient is recommended. And patient currently should declare that they have a dilated aorta, but if they don't declare regarding their genetic result, it's okay. Pregnancy is a risk for young women with a dilated aorta. The normal vascular changes that occur in pregnancy predispose to further aortic dilatation and thoracic aortic dissection is not uncommon. This particular article I have taken from British Journal, and in that they practice all women to undergo pre-pregnancy counseling regarding the risk, and they at mid-trimester they do MRI of thoracic aorta. Surgery during the pregnancy may be indicated in certain cases. If the aorta is greater than 4.5 cm prior to pregnancy, then the risk of dissection during pregnancy is considered as a greater the risk of surgery. Patient may discuss prophylactic surgery with their client. Only one contraception is recommended, that is progestogen, in all cardiovascular conditions. Now comes the surgical part. When to intervene them? The complication of ascending aortic aneurysm is disastrous even if diagnosed promptly and properly managed. It is therefore essential to diagnose a pathologically dilated ascending aorta in a timely fashion and to ensure proper follow-up in order to start medical therapy and a recommended prophylactic surgical repair. The elective surgery is a mainstay of curative treatment. Several studies have demonstrated the reduction in mortality associated with prophylactic surgery. The corrective surgery is recommended when the aorta reaches a size where the risk of complication equal or exceed the risk related to surgery. So if you see the mortality rate for surgical repair with the valve replacement and the mortality rate for timing of surgical therapy. If you see the elective, the mortality is less, whereas in urgence like in complicated dissection or rupture, the mortality is very, very high. It is tuned to around 20%, sometimes 10 to 20%. Mortality rate for the repair, surgical repair with valve replacement, 3.7 and 4.8% in one series and 6.8%. These are elective cases. The comparison of the national guideline for the management of aneurysm in patients with bicuspid aortic valve. So there are three: Canadian guideline, Japanese guideline, and European guideline. Canadian guideline basically follow the American guideline, and even Japanese nowadays follow the American guideline. They follow the following situation warrant surgical intervention in the bicuspid aortic valve disease. Ascending aorta diameter greater than 50 mm with any of the following risk factors like coarctation, systemic hypertension, family history of dissection, progressive dilation of more than 2 mm per year is confirmed by repetitive measurement. So these are the guidelines given by associations.
This measurement is based on transthoracic echo or TEU?
Transthoracic.
Transthoracic.
Transthoracic for a root, and if you wanted to discuss regarding something arch or descending aorta and ascending aorta, if you get a good window, it's fine. If you don't get a good window, you subject the patient for TE or CT scan. Comparison of the national guideline for management of aortic aneurysm in patient with Marfan syndrome. So basically all are very, very interconnected only, but we will follow this Canadian guideline. The maximum aortic root versus ascending aorta diameter of greater than 50. Maximum aortic root or ascending aortic diameter greater than 45 to 50 is the following: rapid aortic growth of more than 5 mm per year. Progressive aortic regurgitation, especially if the surgeon believes that aortic valve can be spared and aortic valve sparing procedure is planned. Family history of premature aortic dissection of less than 50 mm. Severe mitral valve regurgitation that requires surgery. A maximum aortic root or ascending aorta diameter of greater than 45 mm if pregnancy is desired. A maximum diameter of part of the aorta of 50 mm or 60 mm or progressive dilatation. Severe mitral regurgitation with symptoms or progressive LV dilatation or dysfunction as per the current guideline on valvular heart disease. When you are operating for that, and if you find in between, you should.
So in case of severe mitral regurgitation, how will you proceed? You will address both my valvular issue with the same procedure, or?
If it is more than 45-50, we have to replace.
Both?
Both.
At a time, in same.
Because most of the aortic aneurysm, they are asymptomatic. Per se, they don't do anything till it expands more than 6 cm. Less than 6, they either, when they rupture or dissect, then only they do.
Yeah, that's fine, but in case of severe mitral regurgitation, you will take care of mitral valve during same procedure, or you will try to...
Same procedure, same. Comparison of the national guideline for management of aneurysm in patients without any genetic predisposition. So intervention should be considered when the diameter of the thoracic aortic aneurysm, which is 5.5 cm in man and 5 cm in the woman. So smaller the aneurysm should come under the surveillance, typically grow by 10% per year. Fast growing aneurysms should be considered for intervention sooner than the usual operative threshold. This is for any genetic other predisposition. So indication for surgery for me, after reading all this article, I came to this conclusion: aneurysm diameter is the main indicator for elective surgical intervention. because it correlates strongly with the risk of ascending aortic aneurysm dissection or rupture. The diameter of the abnormal aorta is influenced by age and body mass index. Indication for replacement of ascending aorta influenced by etiology, diameter and rate of growth of the aneurysm. So, asymptomatic aneurysm, which is greater than 5 cm diameter, operate. Symptomatic aneurysm, irrespective of the size, you operate. Asymptomatic ascending aortic aneurysm greater than 4.5 cm, patient with Marfan syndrome. So, Marfan, the target is 4.5. Anything above that, you operate. Acute dissection or rupture of ascending aorta, you need to operate, otherwise patient will die. Pseudoaneurysm and traumatic aneurysm in ascending aorta, you need to go in and tackle that. Ascending aortic aneurysm greater than 4.5 cm, patient undergoing any other aortic valve procedure like aortic valve regurgitation or for that replacement or repair is required, or mitral valve procedure, mainly the aortic valve surgery. Growth rate, if it is more than 4.5 cm per year, when ascending aorta is less than 5 cm diameter, that is alarm. You need to go in and replace that or repair that aorta. So we have 7 options when it comes to ascending aortic aneurysm, but depends on certain where it is exactly enlarged, what we can do. So basically in ascending aorta we have tubular segment, then the aortic root, below there is a valve as a aortic valve, and the coronary ostia. So these 5 things or 4 things we need to keep in mind. So first comes the ascending aortic replacement. So when there is only tubular portion dilated, you need to excise here, and then replace with the prosthetic graft. This is called simple ascending aortic replacement of tubular segment. Whereas if the root is also involved, in that case you need to replace the root. When you replace the root, you have to re-implant the coronary button. So this is little bit extensive compared to the tubular portion only replaced. This is called composite grafting. This may or may require aortic valve replacement. So if you replace the valve also, then it is an entirely different procedure like Bantal de Bono procedure. If you don't replace the valve, that is called valve sparing aortic root replacement.
So this prosthesis is which material?
This is a Dacron PTFE material. Then there are certain external wrapping materials are available like synthetic grafts. If the aneurysm, whenever you operate and you find that it is 3.9, 4, and there is a mitral valve or ASD is there, you accidentally find. In that case, we normally do like this. I have done almost around 50 to 60 patients aortic root wrapping. Simple, you have to cut open the graft, oversized graft. You have to loop around the aorta and suture it properly. Suppose that you want to target around 3.2 size, तो 32 mm का ग्राफ्ट लेना है, कट करना है, तो wrap करना है. There are commercially available. These grafts are also available for especially for Marfan, and it is called as Exovat personalized external aortic root support. What they do? They take our CT scan diameter, they create on printer one ascending aorta, and the sleeve they make it like our hand sleeve, similar to that, and which is a Dacron material only. And certain without a cardiopulmonary bypass, they mobilize this aorta up to the root and the coronary ostia, and they make small hole for a coronary ostia, and then they around the aorta up to the, you can go up to the arch or even the distal arch. I have done only once, but not with this type of material, different material. Then if the valve is normal, we have 5 choices. This Robin's wrapping, that is you we have seen in the last slide. Then the David procedure, in that replacement of the root without a valve. Native valve is a normal and we keep it like that. But in that And then the part of the aortic valve we suture to the graft. Whereas in Yakub, we cut the segment of aorta here also, and but bleeding is more in a Yakub procedure. Then the Florida seat. There are graft available with this type of sinuses, and you can implant that, and it gives a perfect anatomical picture post-operatively. Then there are sleeves, as I said in last slide. So these are the valve sparing procedures. You can have this composite graft with a mechanical valve or biological graft, or you can use a homograft or any valve sparing surgery. Wherever you replace the root, it is called aortic root replacement. When you replace the ascending aorta with the root and valve replacement, it is called Bentall de Bono procedure. So this is the Bentall de Bono, in that the aortic valve replacement, aortic root replacement, coronary button reimplantation plus ascending aortic replacement. So you excise this whole tissue, remove the buttons, replace the valve, then suture the graft. After graft suturing, then proximal anastomosis, and then you apply both sides. Either you can have this type of anatomically corrected bulbous graft, or you can have a straight graft. In India we use this because this is a little cheaper than this. But beautiful grafts are available nowadays in the market. Then comes the Ross procedure. What they do is, they remove the pulmonary segment and replace into aorta. Whereas pulmonary circuit is now reconstructed with the homograft. So you are in this, only problem is that you are one valve disease, you are converted into two valve. That's the only problem. But it is basically a normal pulmonary valve, and the main pulmonary artery are excised from here and replaced here.
But this native pulmonary valve supports the LV dynamics and aortic dynamics.
Yeah, it supports it. But it is not that widely used. Ross has started, and only one surgeon, Sampath Kumar, is doing in India, and now he also retired. He operates occasionally in Bangalore. He was an ex-professor in All India Institute. He has one of the largest series in the world for Ross procedure. Even he does Ross top head position for mitral. He removed the pulmonary valve and put it in the mitral position. But results are not that good.
How's the success?
Not that good. You have to, re-operation rate is very, very high. Thank you very much.